My name is Sam Rose. I'm the Director of UNRWA Affairs in Gaza. I mean, it remains a complete humanitarian catastrophe. The worst edges of the famine have been taken away, so people aren't going to bed scared of hunger anymore, but everything else remains pretty much as is. We have a ceasefire, but a ceasefire in which 500 people have been killed, many of them civilians, women and children. So the fear, the humiliation, the cruelty that people face, in the sense that they know that any time, at any moment in time, their life could be taken away, that persists. The level of bombardments isn't what it was during open war, but it remains. The number, military operations continue from the air, from the sea, on the land. So that's one thing, the fear that people are living in. The conditions that people are living in are also pretty horrific. If food has come in, people are still living, hundreds of thousands of people along the seashore, on agricultural land, amidst rubble, next to massive piles of garbage. People living in absolutely squalid conditions, under plastic sheets that have become degraded, under tents that have not been replaced for several months. So people are living in conditions that are not fit for human habitation. Services or work that we do that relies on a supply chain, so food distributions of tents, tarpaulins, blankets, things like that. Distributions we're unable to do at scale right now because we can't bring our supplies in. But that's only part of what we do, and that's only part of what's needed in Gaza right now. Of course, people need food if they're going to come back from a famine, but they also need basic services, clean water, healthcare, vaccinations, things like that. And those are the services that we are continuing to provide. So we provide 15 to 20,000 medical consultations every single day. Almost half of all primary healthcare that's being delivered in Gaza is delivered through UNRWA. We're providing water and collecting garbage from 1.4 million people every day, so over 60% of the population. And healthcare requires medicines, but we're able to get other organizations to bring medicines on our behalf. We have a health workforce of over 1,000 people. Those are staff, doctors, nurses, clinicians that are displaced with people. So as people move back to Gaza City, as many hundreds of thousands of people do, our staff move back with them. And as the situation, relatively speaking, has stabilized, more people are able to bring their children to our clinics, to our schools, etc. And that's another thing that we've been able to scale up quite dramatically since the ceasefire. We've got 70,000 children receiving education in our schools every single day. Those numbers were as low as 5,000 before the ceasefire came into effect. And we still have hundreds of thousands of people living inside our schools and in the immediate vicinity of those schools. As parents who aren't worried about where their child is going to get the next meal from, are more interested in sending their children back to school. We've got 8,000 teachers that are able to provide education to those children if the situation allows. I think it's horrendous. I think it's absolutely outrageous. We're literally seeing the UN Charter go up in flames in front of us. This is a UN premises, regardless of what Israeli domestic law says. This is a premise that's protected by privileges and immunities of the United Nations, and this goes against the United Nations Charter, of which Israel is a signature. It's absolutely horrendous that this can happen and be accompanied by language of incitement, language of hate, almost a race to the bottom among certain Israeli officials to see who can claim credit for an arson attack on the wanton destruction of a UN premise. It's very hard to see this, and it's very hard to see it happening with apparent impunity, that there are no consequences. But it's also scary in terms of what this represents for what might happen in the future, because what starts in Jerusalem, what starts in Gaza, certainly doesn't end there. And if member states of the United Nations can destroy United Nations property without any consequences, then there's a greater risk that others will do it elsewhere. We need a plan, and we need a plan to work. Anything that's better than the constant killing of civilians on a daily basis. So we have to get behind this plan. It's the only plan that's on the table right now. It's mandated by a Security Council resolution. So we have to hope that it leads to meaningful progress towards peace so that Palestinians can start to rebuild their lives. That's what we hope for from this. And we hope that in these kind of the large-scale politics of all of this, the very immediate and very real needs of the people on the ground are not forgotten. Let's not turn Gaza into a real estate project. That's not what it's about. This is about rebuilding the lives of 2.1 million people who've suffered unimaginable trauma and loss over the last two and a half years, and have lived under the situation that's, you know, untenable for decades. So let's hope that it leads to meaningful progress. If it doesn't, the consequences are really too severe to imagine and contemplate right now. The bigger need is, of course, that people are able to enter and exit Gaza freely, including yourselves as international journalists. The fact that there have been no international journalists inside of the Gaza Strip for the past 2.5 years, and those of us, organizations that have spoken out, have been denigrated and have been attacked, and our credibility has been undermined. It's important that we get back in, but also important that the world gets back in, and that people inside of Gaza are able to move freely in and out.